Hey friend, welcome back to Mom Mentoring, where we live powerfully, lead with purpose, and love with passion. I'm your host, Misty Hughes, a transformational life and leadership coach, Grammy to 6, mom of 4 amazing adult kids, and once a single mom who spent way too many years trying to hold it all together on the outside while I was falling apart on the inside. Let me take you back a few years. Every time my kids went to visit their dad, I'd light the candles, put on the soft worship music, and sink into a hot bubble bath, hoping that it would soothe something deeper. And while the bath felt good for a few minutes until the water started to get lukewarm, it didn't fix what was really going on. I wasn't just tired. I was drowning in rejection, shame, blame, and the sting of abandonment. I needed something more than just self-care. I needed real healing. That's why today's episode is so important. If you've ever felt like your emotions are too much or like you're barely hanging on, you are not alone and you're not crazy. You're carrying more than any one woman should have to. And friend, that's exactly why I created a free resource just for you. Becoming Holy and Whole, naming, feeling, and freeing your emotions. It'll help you take just your first step in understanding what's really going on inside. Plus, it walks you through a powerful 90-second emotional release tool. You can grab that anytime using the link in the show notes. But today, we're going even deeper. You are in for such a treat. I'm joined by the lovely, wise, and wonderfully honest Tiffany Kim. She's not only the heart behind My Play Café in Lee's Summit, which is a dream space for kids and moms to connect, recharge, and be real, but she's also a powerhouse of a mompreneur, franchise founder, and business mentor with a mission to help other moms step into their own dreams. She's basically building a little empire of joy and sanity for moms across the KC metro area. Tiffany, it takes a lot of grit to start a brick and mortar. And if I'm not mistaken, you did it right before COVID. So why did you start it and what keeps you going?
At the time of creating My Play Café, I was a mom with 2 children under 2 years old, and it was just hard finding a place where I can sit back and relax and let my older one play while I was tending to a newborn. I experienced it on vacation in Las Vegas. It was the most relaxing day of my motherhood career because I could sit and enjoy that it was gated. I didn't have to worry that my toddler was going to run out. And I started looking to see if there was something like that in Kansas City, and there wasn't. My husband encouraged me to go and pursue this dream, and we signed our lease February 29th of 2020, and we were set to open the first week of April. And 1 week before the world shut down, it's been a wonderful journey, trusting the Lord in his open door to pursue this, knowing that this was from the Lord. He actually gave my husband and I the same word separately, that it was going to be a safe haven. We thought it was just going to be a safe haven for our parents, but really it was a safe haven during a global pandemic. We've had people come in through the years and say, "You've created a safe haven." And that just is like a kiss from the Lord to remind me that this is why we're doing what we're doing. And it's been such a blessing to myself, because right after I signed the lease, I found out I was pregnant with my third. So then I had three and under, and it was honestly the only place I could take my little ones at that time.
As you hear, Tiffany is a mom right in the thick of it, juggling marriage, motherhood, business, and her faith, doing the hard, brave work of going to therapy, which is what we're here to talk about today. Tiffany is joining us to talk about why it's not just okay, but necessary for moms like you to get help Okay, grab your coffee, reheat it again if you need to, and help me welcome the wonderful, wise, and let's just be friends, Tiffany Kim. Okay, Tiffany, we're just going to go there. We're going to dive right in. Why do so many young moms resist the idea of therapy, especially Christian moms who are juggling all the things: marriage, motherhood, business, faith, and everything in between?
That is such an important question to ask. And I really believe it has to do with our upbringing, especially if you grew up in the church. Everything was pretty much spiritualized. Like if you are having spiritual warfare, it's because you're not praying enough. If things aren't going right, it's just your calling as a Christian, and the Lord's with you and you can do it. A lot of the time, we don't realize that we just need a voice outside of our heads, outside of the church, because they're not trained. Something I really love about going to licensed or even pre-licensed therapists is that they know how to guide the questions. They're not here to tell you an answer, where the church is like giving you the answer, like, this is why you're experiencing this. It's because of spiritual warfare. Therapy is not telling you what to think, what to believe, but it really is asking the questions of why you feel what you feel and what could contribute to that feeling. It really has brought so much healing to my heart. Like, wow, I really did feel lonely when I was a child. Wow, I really did not have control in my life because I was in a very controlled environment. Like, you have to wear shoes when you're outside or you're going to get hurt. And now we're finding out actually to walk barefooted is great because you're grounding yourself to the earth, and it is something your body, your spiritual and emotional, like, you need that.
It sounds like taking every thought captive is sometimes not the answer to what is going on. And I love what you explained about validating some of those things that you felt or walked through as a child. And healing really can't come until we have that validated and are able to walk through the process of forgiveness or just owning this is the reality of my life. There's this idea that we have as believers, as Christians, that you said if you're a good Christian, right? If you're doing all the right things, a strong woman of God, that we shouldn't need therapy. You should just pray more. But what would you say to the mom who has been told or is telling herself, it's just your emotions? Your emotions are too big, too much, or just wrong. How would you encourage her?
That really just shuts down the actual feelings that are inside of our hearts. And then when you're a young mom, you just went through pregnancy. So there's just a lot of hormones, a lot more thoughts that come to your mind that you might not have experienced prior to having a child. For me, it was like, oh my goodness, is my child going to keep on breathing? It's a real thing.
Mm.
One of the best outcome that I had going to therapy was just to even label that I had postpartum depression. It broke something off of me that very same day. And
Mm.
my daughter at that time was 3 years old. I was carrying depression for 3 years, not having motivation, not not knowing why I couldn't pursue the things that I've so easily pursued in the past. Um, and all it took was for me to be vulnerable and to tell my therapist this. She didn't say you're depressed, but she says it sounds like depression. And once I sat back and thought about that for a minute, it just completely broke off.
So, Tiffany, you and I were in a coaching relationship. And so, what finally motivated you to start therapy?
That is a great question. I absolutely love coaching. I really believe everybody needs a coach. I think I think that was the biggest blessing that you gave me because coaching was great to get me to hit my goals and really just to prioritize my schedule and get where I wanted to go. But then there was a blockage, there was like I was just hitting something where I knew the goals that we set. I knew what I needed to do, but I just could not do it. At the same time, it does play a part in a marriage relationship too. And, I was hitting some walls in that area as well. But the day you said, I think you need somebody trained in how to help you overcome your past. I think that was the best gift that you gave me because yes, a coach is wonderful. It's so needed, but there's something about going to someone who was trained to help you break through childhood wounds, maybe a little bit of trauma.
I don't want to belabor the whole church thing, but you and I are cut from the same cloth in our spiritual background. And there is a lot of opportunities for prayer ministry, for people to pray over you, for you to go to receive healing and to replace the lie with the truth. So, what did therapy give you that those things, which aren't bad, but what did it give you that those things weren't able to give you?
Right, exactly. Like you said, like those things are good. I think there are benefits to it and I have experienced that type of ministry as well. But something about therapy wasn't labeling or just get over it, but it was like, okay, you have actual experiences that actually brings you to the place that you are at. I was at a point where I was like, I feel distance to Jesus. I'm not where my relationship with him was. When you're young and single, you can be fiery after the Lord. And it's such a beautiful season in life. But it looks different when you're a mom, when you have to take care of the little ones. It's okay to feel a little grieving that
Mm.
that's not there. And just having somebody help you walk through what was and what is. And so back to my point, she said, well, you don't feel close to the Lord right now, but what does the Lord say about this? And I just started bawling because Jesus never left me. He's still right there. And
Mm.
it's just embracing motherhood,
Yeah.
embracing where I'm at. We just have too much to think about in our heads as moms, and it can tend to spiral. But having the outside voice to help you work through the spaghetti of thoughts, and not only to untangle the thoughts, but to kind of put you back on the track and not to be caught up in your head. That's why having someone who's trained to help guide your thoughts, I feel like was so helpful and is still so helpful to me.
I want to differentiate a little bit because you've talked about coaching and counseling. And so, for women that are listening that may be like, I don't understand the difference. So, coaching is very much envisioning the future. Who do I want to become? Where am I going? And a coach helps you process into that and helps you develop a strategy. Now, it doesn't mean we don't talk about the past. Like, how did you do that before? How did you overcome
Mhm.
this obstacle
Right.
before? And things like that. But a counselor is clearly equipped to help you look at the things from the past that are really, like you said, keeping you in that spiral or keeping you stuck. And it doesn't mean that that might not happen in coaching, but a coach is not trained to do that. And it is specific training that allows a counselor and they have the tools, especially if there's been trauma. They have the tools to navigate you through trauma.
I'm really glad that you differentiated because there is a difference which you had to explain to me in that one meeting, like, okay, this is beyond coaching.
Yeah, and it can get messy if a coach tries to engage in those things and they're not trained to. Tiffany, as we've talked about, sometimes the idea of seeing a counselor can trigger shame. How did it feel when I recommended therapy to you?
Well, I was pretty stuck. I remember that was a constant word. I think there was a little sadness, like, oh, she can't help me, but also like gratefulness because you knew what you could and could not do.
Mm.
And that was just really helpful. I think it takes humility on your end, especially because you, like you shared, like if a coach tries to be a counselor, it could end up not so good.
The perception used to be that if you need a counselor, there's something wrong and you need fixed, right? You were stuck and you wanted
Hmm.
to get past that place. And that, Tiffany, takes a lot of courage and humility on your part
Hmm.
to say, I, I'm, I'm tired of this place. Bravo for you, brave mom. You're plowing the ground and you're not going to stay stuck for long, are you?
Oh.
What advice would you give a mom that is ready to look for help, but she doesn't know where to start? Or maybe she's even had a not so great
Mm.
experience.
I mean, first of all, I would just say pray and ask the Lord to bring the right counselor. I went to a pre-licensed therapist and that experience was okay. It was what I needed when I needed it. Then the door opened for me to go to a different therapist and she was really like the perfect match and really helped me overcome and have the biggest growth. There's just so many therapists out there, different values. For me, having a Christian counselor was important. The first pre licensed, it was through a Christian organization, but she did not talk about Jesus at all and did not point me back to him, which was her style. That's okay and needed for some people. But I'm grateful for my current therapist now because she does point me back to Jesus. And that's the beauty of it is if you don't like one, don't feel guilty. Just stop it and go try another one. It could take several counselors to find one that really connects with you.
It sounds a little like a dating process, right?
Yeah.
You were trying to figure out what you wanted. I mean, you probably knew some. You're like, it's important for me to have a Christian counselor, but you wanted someone that pointed you to Jesus. And I bet the first time like, you didn't know to articulate that or that that was what you needed. So you were discovering what was really important to you.
Hmm.
And if it's not working,
Right.
don't try to make it work,
No, no. It's not
right?
a marriage. We're not
Right,
married to a
right.
counselor.
Just date him for a little while. Yeah. I put some things down that might be important as someone is thinking about getting a counselor. Find out their approach, like what you said, what their values are, and you got to know what your values are as
Hmm.
well. I talk to some women and they're like, no, I don't want a Christian counselor, even though they
Right.
are
Yeah.
believers, right? Cost and insurance, those things. One thing I think about, like when I've looked for counselors at different seasons of life, as I've become more informed, is the idea of their area of expertise. What is the therapy modality that they're trained in?
So I went through Abundant Life counseling. They service everyone in Missouri. So you have to live in Missouri. Love it because it's so affordable, $30 for unlicensed and then $60 for a licensed counselor, which is fantastic. I don't use insurance. It's worth every dollar to
Yeah.
me.
And I just want to clarify, Abundant Life is a church here in the area that we live in. And so if someone is wondering, that would be a place to start. Look at some of the larger churches. They oftentimes will have a counseling department that will meet a need, or so many places do sliding scales.
One thing I didn't know I needed from a therapist was EMDR. Now, that's like a rapid eye movement therapy. I ended up with my current counselor and we talked about something, and she goes, you know, I'm trained in EMDR, and I think this is what you need to heal this memory. First, I needed to hear about it because I'm like, oh, is this some woo-woo kind of therapy thing? It's really a way to bypass your mind and to bypass your fight or flight mode and get down back into the emotions and memory of where you're at that caused the trauma. It was just such a peaceful experience for me. Lots of tears flowing out, but I didn't know I needed it, but God knew, and He allowed my therapist to be trained in that. There's just so many resources out there.
EMDR is for someone who has had trauma. It is very effective modality for healing of the memory. Thank you for sharing your experience, because that's how we learn. We learn from other people's
Right.
experiences by hearing what they've done. So, how did you define or clarify when you were getting better, air quote?
Yeah. Well, I'll say when I first started therapy, I was getting a lot of anxiety to the point of a couple panic attacks, especially when I felt attacked or that I wasn't accepted or received well by my actions with good intentions. I would actually physically feel like increased heart rate, just a tenseness within my body. Getting in tune with my feelings and labeling it allowed me, when that healing came, to physically feel in my body more peace. I started having more freedom within myself, even not to carry other people's emotions. Now, do I still have those days? Yes. But that's when I book a session with my therapist. There was a point where I was meeting with her weekly, then it was kind of bi-weekly, then we didn't really have much to talk about anymore. And she was like, you know what, Tiffany? I think we can go to as need basis. And when I first started, I never thought I would be at a point where I didn't need to see a counselor every week. When I need that extra voice, that extra help, then I'm able to book a session.
Self-care is like a big thing for people these days, and it sounds like this is really about self-care and caring for yourself.
Right.
How has therapy strengthened your faith?
I think identity in Christ is something you can lose in the midst of trauma and just situational things that happen in life. Life is going to happen no matter what. And I will say, for me, I've always loved the Lord and I've never walked away from Him. But there has been a season of my life where I just felt disconnected from
Mm.
Him. I wanted to read the Word, I wanted to do my devotional. But for whatever reason, being too busy as a mom, having a million things to do, um, knowing this is something that would be good to do, just being real about, I just feel disconnected from the Lord, and then not feeling judged for it.
Hmm.
It just brought so much freedom, like, oh, it's okay. Like, at least I can acknowledge where I'm at. And the Lord's not angry that I feel disconnected.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
He's not hurt. He knows what's going on inside of me.
Yeah.
Um, but then through that, really coming back to a place where I can enjoy worship again. It's a journey, it's a process.
Having that safe place to work through that process without judgment from someone else opened you up to be able to even sit with the Lord and not be
Mhm.
judged. What is something unexpected that came from your journey in therapy?
Well, the initial reason why I started going to therapy was for my marriage. A lot of times, couples are trying to work to change each other. But for me, just being able to go to therapy has allowed me to even change my own thought process and my normal. All these things coming to surface and being able to work out them. My husband was able to recognize the change. I think for me, I always had a reason why I did something and I wanted to explain why I did what I did. But I didn't know that that actually was damaging to my marriage because then it didn't make him feel heard. And so being able to be like, oh, wow, that's what you feel. And it's a real feeling that you have, making him feel heard and seen first, and then trying to figure out a solution together um, has changed my relationship with my husband. He has his own work to do and his own journey. But I can say now that we're at the 10-year mark, there's just so much more ahead of us that I'm so excited about. I thought the only way for healing is through marriage counseling, right? Both people need to work on each other. And then the counselor can help us to this and that and that. But to go to individual therapy and then to actually bring change to my marriage, I don't think I'm surprised, but it was unexpected for sure.
Yeah, that is so good. And I 500% agree with what you're saying there. And like so many times I speak to women who, well, he won't go to counseling. I'm like, that doesn't matter. You
Mm-hmm.
go. It's about you. It's about your relationship with the Lord. It's about how you show up in these places and spaces. Your husband's ability to see and recognize and affirm you. Like, that's huge. Congratulations on 10 years and
Yeah.
look forward to seeing, where the next 10 years take you and your hubby. As we close up, I want to say thanks for how you normalize the idea of therapy or counseling. It's not a last resort, but it is a powerful first step. So, for any mom who's listening, who is feeling overwhelmed, exhausted, and maybe even ashamed of how heavy things feel, what would you say to her?
There's no shame in therapy. I think there's so much stigma that the world puts on so many areas of our life. And if you're feeling at the end, you
Mm.
feeling stuck and you just don't know how to get out of a funk, it's worth a shot. I think finances is a huge consideration, especially for moms. But I just want to say that you are worth every penny. Self care, mental health allows you to be a better mom, a better wife, but most importantly, it allows you to be who God created you to be.
And that's what we want. We want to be
Mhm.
the women that God created us to be and get out of all the stuff that's so easily entangling us, like Paul said.
Right.
Tiffany, if someone wants more information about My Play Cafe or just is inspired by your own story or journey, how could a friend get a hold of you?
Email is always great. Tiffany at myplaycafe.com. You can also find me on Instagram. It's Tiffany Eva, EVA.
I'll put the link in the show notes so people
Oh,
can find you there. Okay, great. Well, thank you for sharing your story, being so transparent. That's one thing I've always loved about you is you're not afraid of truth and transparency. And so I appreciate you coming on and encouraging other women to get the help they need. Woo, what a powerful conversation. If you've been holding it all in or stuffing it all down, it's time to release the shame and take one brave step toward healing. Mom, you are not too broken. You're not too emotional. You are not a problem that needs to be fixed. You are a woman God created to live free, whole, and emotionally healthy. If today's episode stirred something in you, I want to gently encourage you to grab the free guide I mentioned earlier, Becoming Holy and Whole, Naming, Feeling, and Freeing Your Emotions. You'll learn how to recognize and release what's been building up inside and take a faith-filled step toward becoming the woman God created you to be. The link, mom2mommentoring.com/feelings, is waiting for you in the show notes. And if this episode blessed you, would you do 2 small things that make a big difference? First, share it with a friend who needs to hear this. And second, leave a review on your favorite podcast app. Every review helps other women find this encouragement. And trust me, someone out there needs to hear what you just heard. Until next time, remember, when you shine, you give others permission to shine too.